The American Shorthair is one of the oldest and most cherished domestic cat breeds in the United States, a creature whose history is deeply interwoven with the early foundations of the country itself. To understand the story of this cat, one must go back not only to the beginnings of America, but also to the journeys of European settlers who crossed the Atlantic in search of a new life. When ships set sail from England and other parts of Europe during the 1600s, they carried with them a variety of animals to ensure survival on the long voyage. Cats were among those vital companions. Their purpose was not initially to provide companionship in the sense we know today, but rather to serve a practical role. Ships carrying grain and other food stores were frequently plagued by rodents, and cats provided an essential means of keeping the supplies safe. It is believed that the cats brought on these ships were working cats, hardy animals accustomed to hunting and survival. These were the ancestors of what would eventually be called the American Shorthair. When the settlers finally arrived on the shores of North America, the cats disembarked with them and quickly adapted to a land that was vast, wild, and full of challenges. The early colonies were not a gentle environment. Harsh winters, rugged forests, and the constant threat of famine and disease meant that both humans and animals had to be resilient. Cats, however, found an abundance of work awaiting them. Barns, fields, and storage houses all attracted rodents, and the cats that had proven their usefulness on the ships now proved themselves indispensable in the colonies. Farmers and settlers soon recognized that these cats were not merely stowaways from the old world, but valuable allies in the new one. The cats that thrived were those with strong constitutions, keen hunting instincts, and coats suitable for the varied climates of America. Over generations, these working cats developed into a distinct population. They were not bred for appearance, but for survival and utility. Unlike the more delicate breeds that would later be imported, these cats had to fend for themselves while still serving human communities. Their bodies became muscular and medium to large in size, built for both agility and endurance. Their coats, short and dense, provided protection against cold and were easy to maintain, an advantage for animals that lived largely outdoors. Their personalities, too, were shaped by necessity. They became adaptable, intelligent, and independent, yet capable of forming bonds with the humans who relied on them. By the 19th century, the cats that had spread across the American landscape began to be recognized as a distinct type. The breed was not yet standardized in the modern sense, but people noticed certain qualities that set them apart. They were reliable hunters, friendly enough to live alongside families, and remarkably hardy. These qualities distinguished them from the more fragile or ornamental cats that were beginning to arrive from overseas. As the culture of America developed, so too did its appreciation for the animals that mirrored its values: strength, practicality, and adaptability. The mid-1800s marked the beginnings of cat fancy in the United States, when people started to hold cat shows and pay attention to pedigrees. In 1871, the Crystal Palace Cat Show in London featured a cat from America known simply as a Shorthair. This was an early recognition of the American cat abroad. In the U.S., cat enthusiasts began to develop breed standards, and the working cats that had roamed farms and towns for centuries were gradually given official recognition. The breed became known as the domestic Shorthair for many years, a name that reflected its common presence in American homes. It was not until the 1960s that the breed was formally renamed the American Shorthair, distinguishing it from random mixed breed cats and affirming its place as a recognized pedigree with its own history and identity. The decision to rename the breed was significant. Many people had associated short-haired cats with being ordinary or unremarkable compared to exotic breeds like Persians or Siamese. By designating them as American Shorthairs, breeders and enthusiasts emphasized that this was not just a collection of random cats, but a carefully maintained and historically important breed. This renaming also underscored the pride in having a truly American cat, one whose lineage stretched back to the earliest settlers. The American Shorthair was not imported for novelty or fashion. It was shaped by centuries of hard work, survival, and adaptation in the New World. Throughout the 20th century, the breed's popularity grew steadily. Families appreciated the American Shorthair not only for its beauty, but also for its temperament. These cats were affectionate without being overly demanding, independent yet loyal, and adaptable to different living conditions. They thrived in both rural and urban environments, just as their ancestors had adapted to ship decks and colonial farms. Their coats came in a wide variety of colors and patterns, making them visually appealing as well. The silver tabby variety, with striking black markings on a silver background, became especially famous and is often associated with the breed in the public imagination. The American Shorthair's history also reflects broader changes in the relationship between humans and cats. In the early colonial days, cats were valued for their utility as mousers. Over time, however, they became cherished companions. This shift mirrored the growing recognition of pets as members of the family rather than simply workers or animals with a task. The American Shorthair was perfectly suited for this new role because it retained the qualities that had made it valuable for centuries: strength, intelligence, and independence, while also displaying affection, playfulness, and loyalty. Families discovered that these cats were gentle with children, tolerant of other pets, and long-lived, often reaching 15 years or more. What makes the history of the American Shorthair particularly fascinating is that it is not merely the story of a breed, but also a reflection of American identity itself. Just as America was forged through resilience, adaptation, and a blending of old-world roots with new-world challenges, so too was the American Shorthair. This cat embodies the practicality of early settlers, the endurance required to survive harsh conditions, and the eventual blending of utility with companionship that marks the progress of human society. In this sense, the American Shorthair is more than just a breed of cat. It is a living symbol of American history, culture, and values. The breed's recognition in cat registries ensured that its qualities would be preserved through careful breeding. Enthusiasts worked to maintain its distinctive look and temperament, without losing the natural robustness that had characterized it for centuries. Unlike some breeds that were overly refined to the point of health problems, the American Shorthair retained its genetic diversity and vigor. This is why the breed remains one of the healthiest and most long-lived among pedigreed cats today. Its history of natural selection in harsh environments gave it a foundation of strength that breeders have sought to protect. Even in modern times, the American Shorthair continues to remind people of its working-class roots. While it may now grace show rings and sit in comfortable suburban homes, it still carries the instincts of its ancestors. Owners often remark on their cats' strong hunting drives, their fascination with movement, and their occasional bursts of wild play. These are echoes of the days when survival depended on catching rodents in barns or protecting supplies in wooden ships. At the same time, the breed has evolved into one of the most affectionate and gentle companions, perfectly content to curl up on a couch after a long day of play. The American Shorthair's journey from the decks of European ships to the show rings of modern America is a testament to adaptability and endurance. Its story spans centuries and mirrors the unfolding story of a nation itself. From humble beginnings as an unsung worker, it rose to a position of honor and recognition, celebrated not only for its practical usefulness, but also for its beauty, temperament, and symbolic meaning. Families across the United States treasure their American Shorthairs, not necessarily aware of the centuries of history that live within their pets' genes, but nonetheless connected to that legacy every time their cat purrs in their lap or playfully chases a toy across the room. The American Shorthair remains one of the most beloved breeds in the country because it embodies qualities that resonate deeply with people. It is strong yet gentle, independent yet loyal, practical yet beautiful. It represents both the rugged survival of the early days and the warmth of family life in the present. Its history is not written in dusty archives, but in the everyday lives of the people and families who have shared their homes with these cats for generations. And so, the story of the American Shorthair continues, not as a relic of the past, but as a living companion that carries within it the spirit of a nation and the enduring bond between humans and animals.